Keturah is mentioned in the Hebrew Scriptures as a woman whom the patriarch Abraham took as a wife after the death of his first wife, Sarah. From the perspective of Jehovah's Witnesses, whose understanding is largely drawn from their careful reading of the Bible and related reference works such as the Insight on the Scriptures published by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Keturah occupies an interesting though relatively brief position in the scriptural narrative. While she does not have an extensive, detailed biography like Sarah or Rebekah, the information the Bible provides is considered reliable, and her lineage is viewed as playing a noteworthy role in the outworking of God's purpose, even if it is not central to the Messianic line. Biblical references and identity. Keturah is introduced in Genesis chapter 25 verse 1, where we read, "Abraham again took a wife, and her name was Keturah." At this point, Abraham would have been well advanced in age. He had already lived a full life as the father of Isaac through Sarah and had seen the start of the fulfillment of Jehovah's promises. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, this portion of the Genesis account is believed to take place after Sarah's death, when Abraham felt it appropriate to remarry. The timing suggests that Keturah came into Abraham's household later in his life, making her a significant figure in his twilight years. Was Keturah a secondary wife or a concubine? There is some discussion, both historically and among various Bible commentators, as to whether Keturah was considered a full wife or a concubine under the customs of the time. While Genesis chapter 25 verse 1 uses the term wife, 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 32 refers to Keturah as Abraham's concubine. Jehovah's Witnesses understand these terms within their ancient cultural context. In patriarchal times, a concubine was often considered a legitimate wife of a lower status or a secondary wife, and her children had recognized, though not equal, standing in the family. Given that Sarah was the primary wife and that Isaac was the son of the primary marriage, Jehovah's Witnesses typically explain that Keturah held a status akin to that of a secondary wife. This is in harmony with how other patriarchs had concubines who bore them children recognized as part of the household. Children and their significance. According to Genesis chapter 25 verse 2, Keturah bore Abraham 6 sons, Zimran, Jokshan, Madon, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Each of these sons went on to become the forefather of various tribes or peoples. For instance, Midian's descendants became the Midianites, who would later appear multiple times in Israel's history. From the standpoint of Jehovah's Witnesses, the expansion of Abraham's family through Keturah served to fulfill Jehovah's promise that Abraham would become a father of many nations. Genesis chapter 17 verse 4. Although these sons did not share in the inheritance of the promised land in the same way Isaac did, their genealogical impact is considered part of the tapestry of ancient peoples who influenced the Near Eastern region. Relationship to the Messianic line. For Jehovah's Witnesses, the Bible's main theme revolves around the outworking of Jehovah's sovereignty and the fulfillment of his purpose through the Messianic seed, Jesus Christ. The line leading to the Messiah went through Abraham's son Isaac, then Jacob, and on down through the tribe of Judah. Keturah's children, therefore, were not part of that Messianic lineage. Jehovah's Witnesses see her progeny as contributing to a network of peoples that would eventually interact, sometimes peacefully, sometimes hostilely, with God's chosen nation of Israel. For example, the Midianites encountered Moses, and Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, was a Midianite priest. Such interactions form part of the broader narrative of how various descendants of Abraham either coexisted or conflicted with the nation that sprang from Isaac and Jacob. Abraham's care for Keturah's sons. Another point that Jehovah's Witnesses highlight is Abraham's sense of responsibility and fairness. Before his death, Abraham is described as having made provisions for the sons of his concubines, including Keturah's sons, giving them gifts and sending them away from Isaac into the east. Genesis chapter 25 verses 5 to 6. This action was not merely for the sake of maintaining Isaac's position as the rightful heir of the covenant promise. It also reflected an organizational and just approach to family matters. Abraham's behavior, from this viewpoint, underscores his role as a man of faith and balance, ensuring that his other children would have their own opportunities and not complicate Isaac's inheritance of the land promised by Jehovah. Jehovah's overall purpose. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that every detail in the Bible narrative plays a role in deepening our understanding of God's purpose, human history, and moral lessons. While Keturah's role is not as central or as symbolically rich as that of Sarah or Rebekah, her inclusion reminds readers that God's blessings extended beyond a single lineage. Her children became many tribes, fulfilling portions of God's promise that Abraham's seed would increase and spread. Although the spiritual inheritance of the Messiah's lineage was through Isaac, the fact that Keturah's descendants prospered and became significant people groups underlines that Jehovah was directing a vast historical tapestry. The interplay between these families and tribes over the centuries became part of the rich narrative that influenced Israel's development and challenges. Archaeological and historical considerations. While Jehovah's Witnesses do not focus extensively on extra-biblical archaeological evidence for individuals like Keturah, they hold that the Bible's accounts are historically dependable. Please share and like and please subscribe.